Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Gotham Knights Season 1, Episode 11. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Okay, so first and foremost, obviously we're picking up with Duella and Turner and their circumstances. I kind of figured, sadly, nothing good ever kind of lasts, especially when it's a situation of... Because I was like, I wanted that hookup to happen, but I'm also like, man, it's kind of a bummer because you know they're, at least Turner's not in the best place to be in that circumstance, just because he's dealing with everything he's learned about Bruce and now his biological parents and not knowing what the truth is, plus having everyone kind of, yes, they didn't want to tell him the truth about how bad his condition was, except Duella wanted to, but he was kind of pushing them away because it's like, right, it's just one, it's a small lie, a white lie in regards to trying to keep his hope up and not tell him how bad things are. Where Duella's always very blunt about that type of stuff. It's like, you know, the truth is the truth, which obviously it's interesting considering the context of this episode, but we'll get to that in a second. So for him, it's just, he kind of blew it out of proportion, but it's just because so much of his life felt like a lie now. His entire world was turned upside down. So now he's starting to think like every little lie, no matter what the reasoning for it, just felt like an attack to him, is what that actually comes down to at the very least, I think. So, but either way, Turner and Duella, which I love that Cullen and Harper were the ones that have to be there, and Turner's not saying anything, whereas where Duella is saying everything, which Harper's like, I don't need to know these details. You're having sex in like the fantasy YA section, and that's my favorite section. It's like, oh, we did it all over the library. And it's like, oh, like you think he's I'm sure you were wondering if he was a good kisser. Harper's like, no, I wasn't. So, but Duella is like, hey, let's meet up with somebody. This person will be this person will help us kind of figure out more about, hey, what happened to your parents, which Turner never got any answer for that, because it turns out the person they're meeting with is Jane Doe, which is interesting. It's like, okay, so that's her mom in this. That's interesting. Which now I'm wondering, because I think they had referenced like her mom being Jane Doe before, because I forgot about that. But it's like, obviously she's not what the character typically is, because I've looked into the character in the who the character is in the comics, and so obviously her circumstances are a little different in the show, but I'm curious to see what that kind of means in the long run, considering like who her parents are in the grand scheme of things. Like I said, we'll get to that in a second, but you could tell like Turner slipping back and forth between like, yeah, I'm rolling on the dark side, and you know, I'm trying drowning out my pain and everything I'm going through. So it kind of like sucks because it makes it seem almost like the Duella thing is just like a, hey, like I'm having fun, but it's also like, you know, I'm stepping on the dark side with Duella, but it's like he's spiraling because there's still that part of him that wants to do right, because he's like, he doesn't want to just like, Duella's like, hey, let's kind of just like, if my mom can get us a town, will you come with me? But for him, it's like, but what about our friends? Like, regardless of him pushing them away, it's like, do we just leave them high and dry, considering everything going on, like our freedom, but not theirs? But Duella's like, of course, you're too handsome and too you to be on the run or whatever. And sadly, Duella never found out this episode her mom sold them out. Specifically, it's like, right, she was reunited with her daughter when she was happy, but she sold Turner out because it's like, right, they don't have any money, and you could tell she was really trying to like play up who she is in front of her mom, being like, no, like, yeah, I haven't killed anyone yet, but you know, just because the opportunity hasn't presented itself. She has talked about the bullet she keeps around her neck was going to be her way to kill. Which I was like, she was implying, they were saying like the Joker's dead. So I was like, oh, did Bruce quote unquote kill the Joker in this continuity too, or no? I was like, once again, they love that storyline of just like, yeah, just like every like, once again, just like everything lately just been like, yeah, Bruce finally snapped and killed the Joker. So I don't, not once again, maybe it's kind of similar to the Turner's family parent circumstances. It's like, it's not what you think it is. You only get a small portion of the details. Like, doesn't mean like he directly had anything involved, but he feels guilty. He feels responsible. It doesn't mean he's necessarily responsible. I mean, who knows? It could be a thing of the responsibility could be that the Joker actually killed his parents, and Bruce feels responsible because it's that, that peacemaker point of, Batman locks up villains just to let them go. And I mean, obviously other people have said it before, but obviously more recently they came up in Peacemaker of like, he never puts his villains down, and they always come out, and Batman's responsible for how many people is Batman indirectly responsible for killing, because he never puts his supervillains down. He locks them up, they break out and hurt and kill more people. So it might be something in that regard of like, my code led to your parents getting killed, and I know what that's like, having your world shattered like that. But it's like, there's been so many other people been like that, so why Turner and specifically? Maybe it's because they were more directly targeted, they just happened to be in the wrong place, because I don't know. That's why I'm curious, like, what that's all about. But like, maybe I misheard that, but I could have sworn they were implying like the Joker is dead, that Batman killed him as well. So, but like I said, I could be easily mistaken and misheard that. But Duella was going to run away with her mom. And it's also interesting, too, I forgot to also mention, like, this is her birthday as well, which I even love. She was like, wait, how'd you know it's my birthday? He's like, because, like, I think the information was, like, on her mugshot or something like that, so that's how Turner knows that's her birthday. But either way, her mom bought her because I knew she was turning Turner over, but I was like, what's the Harvey of it all? And Harvey's the one that sent her away for 18 years. She didn't get out on good behavior. She ended up breaking out of Arkham. Which even, like, Turner and Duella knew that, but Duella's like, no, it's my mom. Like, what would you give to have more time with your parents if you had the opportunity? Which Turner's like, right, I get that. But it's like, how do you know your mom isn't selling us out? It's like, well, she didn't sell Duella out. She sold you out. And like I said, Duella doesn't know that. So that's it. She's just going to think, like, right, Turner went back. And I think that's also sad, too, because, like, Duella did everything for Turner, and, like, hopefully Turner will try and return a favor and, like, come track her down and make sure she's okay, regardless of her being with her mom, being out there with her mom without the team. It could still put her at risk, and it's like, well, we can't 100% trust her mom because her mom's not really in her right state of mind. I mean, she probably definitely had issues before, but being locked up in Arkham and being treated like you're mentally unwell probably will send you off the deep end as well, so... But it turns out she was like, oh, me and Harvey had an affair, and it's like she was stalking him and stuff like that. And then I was like, wait a minute, especially as the episode, as that scene kept going on, I was like, wait. And she's like, he creeped into my, like, we like not once, not twice. And I was like, no shot, we're doing what I think we're doing. And obviously it hits for Harvey where it's like, oh crap, like now that I've known this about myself, like maybe there is some truth to it. And I was like, but that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking that, but I'm also like, are they doing what I think they're doing? And they did. They made Duella Harvey's kid. Because I talked about that previously in the show, but I talked about that maybe like when the first trailer came out last year for the show, that I looked into Duella's character a little bit, and the fact of the matter is it's not clear who her dad is. She goes by many different aliases of like, oh, she's the daughter of the Joker, the daughter of maybe like Penguin. She's the daughter of so many different like villains. So I was wondering if like they were playing with that a little bit, and they did, making it, but it's like Harvey's her dad, which you immediately break down and even more where you're like, that's interesting because we know what Harvey has, and what he has he got from his dad. It's a hereditary thing, so that means Duella potentially might have it. Granted, it doesn't pop up until later in life, but she does. She's predisposed to it. So you're like, Jesus. Which also is kind of messed up. Then you also think about, well, because it was the other Harvey, that means that he gaslit this woman into getting locked up, and to keep his affair secret, he had her locked up in Arkham. It's like, is that not unless Jane is completely off her rocker and none of this is true? Harvey's not her daughter. I mean, they might still play with that where it's like, honestly, she doesn't know who. It's not Joker, and maybe it's not Harvey, but maybe it's someone else, and maybe she doesn't actually know. Maybe that'll end up being the twister. Maybe not. Maybe it's just like no, she's fully Harvey's kid, which is interesting. Like I said, just because of like his mental and psychological condition, like what that might mean for her growing up. Like I said, it doesn't hit until like later in life. Which Harvey tried to explain like what he had in his circumstances, but it's still the thing of, regardless of it all, I was separated from my mom for 18 years. You put her there. You gaslit her into that situation. It's like, wow. So you are a terrible human being. And we also get an explanation for why she lied about the Joker situation. Because it's like, right, I wanted my daughter to be safe in this world because I know how dangerous it is. And if she is the daughter of one of the biggest criminals in this city, then no one would touch her. And like Joker played along because of course he would, you know? We're also talking about, you know, the same character like in Harley Quinn when he took Poison Ivy's backstory and made it seem like it was his own. So it's in a similar boat. It's not the same thing, but it's like, yeah, he's willing to because he's crazy like that. But he thought it was fun. But he stopped paying attention to her because she was tough enough to no longer need his protection. So that's why he paid so much attention to her up to a certain point, and then cut her loose because it's like, right, you can fend for your own, you little hatchling, you know, type of situation. So Duella, I thought that was interesting where Harvey was like, right, I finally have my circumstances under control, but you yourself, you have a choice. This is you. You don't have to do this. You can be your own person. But her mom convinced her to pull the trigger, which, you know, her mom's so proud of her at the end of the day, but pulling the trigger didn't feel the way Duella thought it would. I mean, who knows? Like, maybe it would have, like, it's something she's always held on to, but it's like, right, once again, the ground beneath her her entire world is upside down. Like her foundation is shaking now because it's like, right, she defined herself, and this was a point Harvey was making. You defined yourself for so long because, like, right, you were the Joker's daughter, so you had to live up to that. So you're like, right, this is who I am. I have to embrace it. I have to live up to the expectation of being the daughter to the clown prince of crime. But then it's like, that's not who you are. You don't have to be defined by that. You get to be who you want to be. And, you know, now it's more like, no, you get to be who your mom made you into and who your mom wants you to be. But it's also like a thing of maybe even if it was with the Joker, pulling the trigger probably wouldn't make her feel as happy. And now it's like, right, you found out about your real dad and you also shot him and killed him. You think you killed him, but you didn't. It is fortuitous that, of course, Harvey would be protected by the coin. And it's like, of course. But obviously at the end of the episode, all of it got revealed. So it's put on blast. And so I'm sure Turner and the others are eventually going to catch that newscast about that. You can tell Lincoln most likely... Well, I was about to say Lincoln leaked that, but it's like, who knows how much the court knows about that? That was most likely Jane who did that just to give him, like, not only is he dead, but I'm also going to ruin his White Knight reputation. So now no one's going to look at him the same. It also plummets. I mean, it could also have been, because we do know she was working with Lincoln, so she probably did tell Lincoln the truth about that. So they did that to like, hey, Harvey, you are alive, but we're going to destroy your reputation, and is going to put him in position to be mayor, which we also found out that, the talent coming after him, that wasn't his plan. That's why that was 100% Rebecca doing that. It's like, right, they kind of distance you from the court and stuff like that. So they kind of keep his cover a little bit more. And it's like, she's like, yeah, but if I'd known you would kind of leave all these trophies around for your son to find, not even our son, but your son, because it's that parent thing of like, once he screws up, he's yours type of situation. But that's why in the way Lincoln kind of looked at her, and was like, I don't think she knows that it's Bryce, right? I keep forgetting that kid's name. I feel so bad. Like, their son is still alive. I don't think she knows about it. That's the thing I kept flipping back and forth about last episode. I'm like, does she know? Was that part of the plan? I'm just like, I don't think so. She doesn't know he was brought back. Like I said, I'd assume he's going to be set up to be the next Talon. So I'm curious to see what Link is going to do about that. If that wasn't part of the plan, if he kind of made that decision unilaterally or not, because she made the decision unilaterally to kill him in the first place. So. But it's interesting because she listens to the message from Harvey and she's playing it over and over. So I'm wondering, is she the one that's manipulating Harvey with the music? Or is that Lincoln? But her playing that part over and over again of like, I'll do anything to protect you. She was happy about it. It's like, yeah, I don't like Lincoln, but oh, Harvey, I know you meant it. I mean it because you love me and I love you too. Lincoln's just a means to an end. Maybe at one point in time I cared for him, or maybe it's always just being an ends to a means. But you, Harvey, you're something special. And maybe she's not in love with the Harvey we know, the White Knight Harvey. Maybe she's in love with the dark side Harvey. So who knows? So that's definitely going to be interesting to see. But also, Duella's definitely going to be shaken by the fact is, hey, not only did I kill someone, I killed my biological dad after finding out about him being my biological dad. Harvey's also the one that was helping Turner and them, so that's also got a suck of like, yeah, regardless of it, I also screwed them over by getting rid of the one ally they had on the inside, so there's that element to it. And then she'll eventually find out about, like, wait, you try to sell Turner out? Why would you do that? So I don't think the situation between Duella and her mom is going to be great. It's actually interesting because like thinking about kind of in the Batman universe, just televised wise and stuff like that, it reminds me of Gotham. Like we had the whole thing between Selina and her mom. Like they had a very complicated relationship. So I can definitely see things kind of souring a little bit between Duella and Jane, but we'll see how that plays out next episode. Circling back to the Turner thing, luckily the Gotham Knights were able to get to him first. Specifically Cullen. I love the whole like him wanting to like him even going back in as Detective Officer Haynes. I love that. I love that he just gets to play that role, and I think he's actually probably going to immediately kind of start liking it more and more. And especially when the guy he keeps bringing the coffee to all the time, be like, "Yo, I got your back. Here's this backup. This is the last one I can give you of the walkies or whatever, or the scanners, because Duella's mom still has the other ones. They're going to be able to stay a step ahead of anything that comes down or goes down. But he invited Cullen out, and I was like, yeah, you probably don't want to be out in a more casual sense with everything going on for you to be kind of revealed and busted. But there is probably some camaraderie that Cullen kind of gets in that regard. So we'll see what happens. But I love that he was the one that ended up him. And Harper and Stephanie were able to help Turner. And I love Cullen being like, right, you don't have to ask for help. Because Turner's like, I didn't ask you to come. He's like, I know everything you're going through because he ended up talking to Carrie, which her mom wasn't too receptive on the whole, being a vigilante thing at your age. So she's grounded, which is kind of funny to think about. Like, hey, yeah, how dare you go out there and be a superhero? It's like, yeah, it's funny. But it's like, yeah, So, and also he found out, like, okay, so you're the one that tore out the pages, you kind of lied to Turner, also ended up spilling the tea about, like, the whole Duella and Turner thing, which now she's got that mental image as well. So, but Cullen is like, right, you're a friend, you guys are family, so I'm going to look after you, like, even if you push me away, when you need me, I'm going to be there for you regardless of it, even putting my own life at risk because I'm going to do that for you. And I mean, that's just a representation of Cullen's character, of like, Cullen is that type of person. Like, we know the upbringing him and his sister had and what that means for them. And so Cullen's very loyal to a fault, and that's just going to be part of his character. And so, hey, I've got your back no matter what. And Turner kind of hugs him. And I think at a time when he feels so lost about who he is and everything, he has to kind of keep hold of, like, right, I do have to rely on the people around me because, yeah, I got so caught up in like a little lie or whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, you've got my back. I know that you all do. You risked a lot to come and help me and make sure I didn't get busted, because if I got caught by the police, I would be dead. So tying that all in with the Harper and Stephanie of it all, Stephanie tried to like come forward to be a witness about Lincoln in the Court of Owls, but Lincoln came because the person they were talking to, like the DA or whatever, she was like the commissioner or whatever. I forgot what her position was, but it's like, nope, because he's the DA, isn't he? Yeah, so because Harvey's the DA, but I'm like, I think she was like a commissioner or something, but it turns out, no, she's in Lincoln's pocket. She's with the court. So, not with the court, but she serves the court. So Lincoln makes her a deal. Hey, so you tell me where the others are, and I can drop the charges on your dad, because Arthur got caught, like, getting a prescription from someone, and the way Lincoln made it sound is like, oh, of course I wouldn't do that. Like, I'm taking advantage of a situation that came across my table because your dad got busted all on his own. So, I mean, but who's to say how much of that he orchestrated? But it's like, yeah, because he's like, hey, I would never do that to your dad. I actually love the Quiz Bowl, so I'd never do that. But it is the situation of his dad. Her dad could go away for 20 to life because it's all caught up with him, all the prescriptions he had run and stuff, like the fake prescriptions and stuff that gets drugs for his wife. And Stephanie's being asked to choose between her family and her friends. And it's like, yeah, but if I rat out my friends, they're going to go to jail. Not only, they're not even going to make it to jail, they'll be killed. But, you know, her dad's like, yeah, but to me, your mom will die without me. And it's like, I guess the argument, I was like, she won't, but I guess the argument is if I don't help her, if I don't keep things in control, she'll go out there, maybe get high on something else just to kind of catch that high, and she might overdose and die. So maybe that's the argument of like, she'll die without these meds. But it's like, right, I'm here to protect her. I mean, the fact of the matter is you're young and you have a bright future ahead of you, Stephanie. You don't have to carry this burden. Let me be the one to carry it. Let me be the one to take care of your mom. And it's just like, ultimately, Stephanie chooses not to, and she yells at her mom because her mom's upset at her not taking the deal. But it's like, no, I'm tired. Both you and Dad, you aren't here protecting me. You're manipulating me. You keep up this. You're doing all this to keep up this appearance of like we're the perfect family when we're not. I'm not I don't have the perfect life because my entire life is a lie. I have to be so meticulous with how I construct things to keep up with your lie. Like everything I do, everything I am, like who am I? Outside of like your manipulations and everything you and Dad push me to be and create this facade of me, you know? And her mom slapped her, and luckily Harper was there. But it's like, yeah, you're lashing out against her because Stephanie's everything that you're not. She's successful and she's a good and kind person. You are rotten on the inside, especially because that's going to strike a chord with Harper once again because of her and Colin's background, like the abusive family situation they came from. They know that blood in that line from MGK. God, what was the song? You show me that just because we blood don't mean we relate. So it's that type of thing of like, I mean, that's applicable with any like, you know, family, you know, obviously, but, you know, Harper's looking like, hey, I got my bro by my side. Might not have my parents, but it's like, no, I got my bro by my side. And, you know, it's like, not all parents are good people. So, and, you know, luckily got Stephanie out of that. And obviously when they were searching for Turner, they were in the club and it's like, no, just focus on me. Dance with me. And you could tell Stephanie was kind of caught up in the moment. But the fact is that Harper came there for her. It's like, right, you helped me. You got me out of this situation and saying what you said about me, you know? Especially, like I said, at a time when she feels so lost. But it's at the end of the day, Harper's like, what do you, Stephanie Brown, want? Don't think about it. Just kind of take a leap. And they find the kitchen, you're like, wow, it happened a lot sooner than I thought it would. But it's kind of beautiful. It's like, oh, like Duella and Turner, but that's kind of souring. But I don't think the Stephanie and Harper thing will. She's going to be staying, obviously, with them for a while till she figures stuff out. But after they kiss, she's like, so that's what it feels like. Because even with Bryce, she never felt anything. But now she feels that spark she was referencing. She thought she might feel with Turner, but she didn't. But she feels it with Harper. So that's kind of cute. So a lot of really interesting things to keep in mind as we go into the next episode. I'm so curious to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. What gets revealed, especially along the, like I said, Duella and Jane situation, how that all plays out and how the Gotham Knights are going to kind of have to respond in that regard, especially when all the info about Harvey being, you know, Duella's father and what that means. Because that also cuts deep to where it's like, hey, one of Batman's killers is your daughter, plus all the stuff with Jane too, gaslighting her and getting her locked up in an institution. So, we'll see. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.